Dr. Jaffe, can you explain the green light therapy that you frequently recommend?
Yes, the eye has 7 layers or levels of nerves, and one of those groups of nerves are light sensitive but not vision responsive. And where do those nerves go? They go directly to the pineal gland. And you may know of the pituitary as the master gland, but if the pituitary is the master gland, the pineal is the mistress of the master gland. So the pineal sits at the base of the third ventricle. It's in the deep brain. It is very important for regulating rhythms, the stability of your mood, the stability of your sensibility, your sense of being at ease or being anxious, are all related to the wavelengths of light that go from your retina, from your eye, to the pineal gland. And as I said, this has nothing to do with vision. This doesn't go to the optical cortex. And so when you put green dichromatic light, and notice I said dichromatic, because most bulbs, most color, is created with pigment, like paint. And the dilemma is that it creates the negative image and the brain corrects. So when you see green on the wall, what your retina sees is negative green, and your occipital cortex knows it's not negative green, it's positive green, and it corrects. And that's not what we're talking about. But these very special nerves, and blind people have nerves that go from their retina to the pineal, although if you enucleate the eye, if you surgically remove the eye, the pineal often loses its ability to regulate rhythms. And there are people who have what's called non-24. Their circadian rhythm goes beyond 24 hours. And that's a subgroup of people that are very specially in need of very specialized help. So green dichromatic light is different than all other light in that the dichromatic bulbs were designed to produce pure chroma, pure color. And so you can think of it in this way, and this is an accurate analogy. The pineal and the retina sense the ratio of green to red and green to blue. And metaphorically, you can think of blue as cooling and soothing. You can think of red as stimulating and heating. And you can think of green as in the middle, like the forest, the sylvan forest that we used to amble in. We used to bathe ourselves in the green light coming through the canopy of the forest. And today, many people don't spend enough time outside. Their pineal glands get a little upside down in terms of biorhythms, circadian rhythms. And by the way, they gave the Nobel Prize this year for the doctors who helped validate the understanding of these internal clocks or internal rhythms within the body, within the biological system. So very important. Not about vision, but about regulating the control of our neurohormone system, which is what the pituitary is involved with, and making sure that the pituitary gets the right signal in the right way is the job of the pineal. So we use dichromatic light because it produces pure chroma. We use green because it's ad lib. It's like walking in the forest. And we use it for at least 20 minutes twice a day. Many people have it at a distance of about 4 feet, and they have it on a timer so that as they're falling asleep and as they're waking up, they get the benefit of about 20 minutes or more. You can sleep under the green light. Only the green light is ad lib. There are other dichromatic lights which need other expertise in their use, and we restrict those to 20 minutes, not more, not less, and once or twice a day. That's the amber or the blue. But with regard to green, there are some people who put them in their living rooms, in their kitchens, in their family spaces, and they just live under green dichromatic light. Some people are very responsive to light, and they know that. When it's cloudy outside, they're a little bit down. When it's bright, blue sky and brilliant sun, they feel better. So the green dichromatic light restores the ability to keep the pineal in its rhythm because it influences the thalamic control, the neuroendocrine system, the pituitary, etc. And I learned about non-invasive color healing systems, including the dichromatic light. And these lights were developed for theater. These lights were developed by Sylvania and GE, now Osram and Philips, but they were developed where theater and for situations where you needed real pure color. And then people who are into the biology of color realized that these lights that were created for theater are actually therapeutic. And that's the best of cases. You go to the theater to have an experience, a meaningful moment, and come away renewed. And in this case, you can bring with you to your home or to your place of being a green dichromatic bulb. It's 150 watts. It's a par 38 dichro, D-I-C-R-O, like dichromatic. And that's the one you want. Not a standard spotlight, not a pigmented bulb, but a dichromatic one. They look different. They're relatively expensive. I think they're now about $50 a bulb, but they last thousands of hours. And sometimes it's the best medicine you can, the best light medicine you can have. With regard to color blindness, that has to do with different layers of the retina, different nerve systems. And those nerves all go to the occipital cortex, and they do have to do with different kinds of color blindness. But whether you are sighted or not, whether you're colorblind or not, the one level of nerves that goes directly to the pineal is independent. And the only exception is when they surgically remove the eye. And this goes back to work by, I think, Pitts. And there was a guy who was the only person in history to become a professor at MIT having not gone to college. The man never went to college. But with Jerry Letvin's help, they did work on frogs. They showed that frogs' retinas had 7 different layers to their nervous structure. And one of those layers went to the pineal of the frog. And then other people discovered that they were correct, that this was a general phenomenon having to do with eyes of all species. And so Letvin gave the following talk. How does the frog's brain tell the frog's eye what it knows? So that's the talk. And not only did they discover this level of nerves that no one had surmised that went directly to the pineal, but they also found that frogs in particular are exquisitely sensitive to small, dark objects against a light background. You know, like a fly flying by. And the insights that they had about how the retina worked were so profound and so original and so startling that someone asked Letvin, how did you figure it out? And he waited for that question. He said, we did something no other scientist had ever done. We watched frogs. We watched how they behaved. And then we thought, how could their little eye, their little frog's retina do this? Because you would think that colorblind people would be different. You would think that people who are blind would be different. But it turns out that these nerves that go from the retina to the pineal are primordial. They're in all species. And while they have nothing to do with vision, they have everything to do with circadian or circadian rhythms. And I'm glad you asked the question, because you would think that colorblind people would have a difficulty with regard to, say, green light. Now, when you talk to people who are colorblind, what they will tell you is that they see shades of gray, and they come to associate different shades of gray with what other people think of as colors. So they don't see color, but they can, many of them can adapt to their physiologic variant. And they'll tell you very frankly, no, I don't see green, but I know that shade of gray you think is green. But your question's a good one, and the answer is the nerves that go to the pineal are independent of vision, color blindness, etc. But you do need to have a retina. You do need to have an eye, because there are times when surgically they need to remove the eye, and that's the one time when the pineal is just cut off. Another very important question is it about the intensity of the light? No, it's about the ratio of the frequencies. And what does that mean? It means you can have your eyes open or closed, and you get the same effect. Why is that? Because it's not about the intensity of the light. So if you have the green light 1 foot away from you, it'll be quite hot, and you'll get more intense green light, but you don't get more benefit. Because what is actually happening in physiology is always a ratio, just look for it. And in this case, it's the ratio of green to blue or green to red. And since it's a ratio, it doesn't matter what the intensity is. So if you close your eyes, the intensity goes down, but the ratio stays the same. If you open your eyes, the intensity goes up, but the ratio remains the same. And it was an interesting phenomenon that took me a while to actually accept. You want these from a comfortable distance, typically 4 feet. Eyes open, eyes closed, doesn't matter. It does matter whether you're in a calm and relaxed state. So you generally do not want to be overstimulated, like watching a competitive game or something, while you're under the green light, because you're now doing conflicting things. So this is the green dichromatic light is useful in anything where you want to evoke healing responses, where you engage in active meditation or prayer or mindfulness practices. It's also helpful. Many people feel that they're more productive and more able to see possibilities when they're under the green light. But one of the things that's been interesting to me over the years is that the phenomenon does not attenuate, which means over time, the effect doesn't go away. And while we think in terms of amounts, eyes open would have more green coming in than eyes closed, and that's true. But the body works on ratios. So it's the ratio of green to blue or green to red, not the intensity of the light, that determines the benefit.